Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Learning Insights, brought to you by Training Pros. When you have more projects than people, Training Pros can provide you with the right L&D consultant to start your project with confidence. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Learning Insights, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get too far into things, it's important to recognize our sponsor, Training Pros. Without them, we could not be sharing these stories. Today on Learning Insights, we have Ingrid Curtis with Rural Sourcing. Welcome, Ingrid.
Thank you. Great to be here, Lee.
Well, I'm excited to have you back. Tell us about Rural Sourcing. How are you serving folks?
Yeah, so we are a software development outsourcing group. And we have always believed that there are high-end technologists living throughout the country, not necessarily sitting in San Francisco or Boston or New York. And so our model is to deliver great software for Fortune 100, 1,000 customers throughout the country in our 6 development centers. And so we're located in places like Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Oklahoma City, Fort Wayne, Indiana, places where there's great talent, but a high quality of life.
Now, the genesis of the idea, if I recall correctly, was that the premise was that there was a draw to go back to maybe their hometown, and that if given that option, there would be kind of a large number, or maybe a surprisingly large number of people that would choose that rather than the big city where they were kind of being funneled into or forced to choose that. Have you seen that to be true? I would imagine in today's world, with all the people working from home, this is just kind of the natural outcome maybe that you predicted many years ago.
Yeah, and a lot of people have come back from working in Dallas or working in other places and wanted to be near family, wanted to raise their children in their hometown or take care of aging parents. I mean, that's certainly a portion of our story.
And then now you're in how many markets around the country?
We have 6 development centers around the country, and then our headquarters are in Atlanta.
And then in those centers, just so people know, you typically go into kind of the downtown and how would you call it?
Yeah. So we definitely are helping downtown areas reinvent their technology corridors, looking at bringing jobs from the suburbs or other locations, business parks, back into that downtown core. It really helps cities thrive, and it creates a buzz that's great for these mid-sized cities.
Now, from when the company started to where it is now, how have you been able to kind of keep that culture alive, and how kind of intentional has that been, and how has that contributed to your growth?
It's been extremely intentional. From the beginning, we have taken a colleague-first approach. So we believe that if we invest time and effort and think about our colleagues every day, all day, they'll do great work for our clients, right? And so we've built the organization so that it serves the colleagues that are delivering the work that we do.
And then when you've done that and you've replicated in these markets throughout the United States, does each market kind of have its own flavor, or is there kind of a rural sourcing kind of way things are done? It doesn't matter if I went into one market or another, I would have the same kind of vibe.
I sometimes lovingly refer to it as we have a family of core values, just like any family. But each of our development centers is like, one of our children. It has its own personality. It's got its own strengths. And so, you'll find a very creative group in Albuquerque that loves to get together and DIY and do other things, where Oklahoma has a music bend to it. Mobile has a food bend to it. So it is very much, you'll get the same vibe of collaborative software development, but you'll also feel a little bit of that local culture too.
Now, how has it been kind of recruiting I believe you call them the colleagues that are in each of those markets, the people that are doing the work? How are you pulling from that locale, or are people moving to there to go back to where maybe they once were from?
Yeah, so we're hiring at all levels, right? So we're looking for technologists with 20 engineers that have 20 and 30 years of experience, and all the way down to folks joining our internship program out of college. And so our more junior folks, we're definitely pulling from the local university systems. But we are recruiting nationwide. So we're looking for individuals that once lived in Albuquerque, that want to get out of Denver, that are looking for an opportunity to get back to where they grew up. And so our recruiting team is really looking nationally. And we relocate, in Albuquerque, for example, about 20% of that team was relocated back home.
And then, so when you're approaching someone from another market, like, are they like super excited? Like, oh my God, this is a fantastic opportunity. I wouldn't have even thought this was possible when, maybe they were kind of growing up there.
Yeah, we have a great story of a gentleman in our Mobile office. He was actually working for Google. And he was responsible for, every time someone tries to hack your Gmail account or get into your Google account, he was on the team that was protecting those systems. And he's from Mobile, Alabama. And so, I think it was his grandmother that let him know that there was a technology company hiring in town. And he came back, and he'll tell you the only thing that makes him that saddens him is that he hadn't known we'd been there for 4 years.
Right. This is something that, especially, are you just getting bombarded with people wanting to get involved and come back home, like in today's climate, because family is so important and everybody is kind of needs that connection?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a broader group of folks, right, that are have been used to living in places where they felt like they, kind of had to run the rat race and live in San Francisco, but are starting to now look back on opportunities back home.
Now, how do you kind of handle the diversity and inclusion part of the culture? I know that you're kind of recruiting in those local markets from the candidates that are there around the young folks, but how do you kind of create that, maybe the multi-generational mix that you're looking for?
Yeah, so there's definitely a layering of individuals across the different levels of experience, and so we are really building teams of more senior folks, of more junior folks, and thinking about as we're growing, individuals coming out of the universities or boot camps or other, and how we can help them get up to speed quickly by pairing them with more senior folks.
And then, so that's, again, this is all intentional, right? So this is a program that you developed in order to do that and to create those kind of smooth transitions?
Yeah, and we're actually revamping it, right? Because now we're looking at a fully remote solution. And so we are completely overhauling the way in which we're onboarding our new colleagues and how we're thinking about, normally you'd walk into an office and be efforting from a couple hours with HR, a couple hours with your manager, and then you'd sit at your computer and get up to speed. Well, now someone isn't leaving their chair. And so we're really working to help in that aspect with thinking about day one, week one, month one, and how we can bring those folks up to speed and work with them, whether they're junior or senior.
Now, how as an organization do you kind of measure the success of that?
So there's a couple ways. I think one is we are taking the opportunity as early as possible to get the most junior folks onto projects, right? So the best way to learn, the best way to grow is to be on those engagements and really learn from that. That allows our more senior folks to weigh in, to help coach and guide, to fill the gaps. And then as well, I think we are, we're thinking about getting them out in front. So helping them to present on things they're learning and teach others.
Now, when you're kind of creating that environment of collaboration, has there been any kind of stories that you can share where maybe people who had different backgrounds were able to work together and form kind of a better solution than maybe anyone really anticipated?
Yeah, I think I recall a story in Augusta where we had an individual join us, and he came from internal IT, was used to having an office, and wasn't really understanding of the full leverage team that we try and build. And it was a couple months into a project, and he came to me and said, I get it now, right? I get that the more junior folks coming out of college are teaching me different things that I'm not aware of in technology, and I'm able to bring some of the architectural expertise and some of the ideas of how software development should work. But they're really pushing us to think about new ways for the user experience, about how we're really engaging with our clients. And so I think it really does bring that diverse experience and that diverse team.
Now, I think one of the great ways that rural sourcing is serving kind of humanity as a whole is when you go into one of these markets and you revitalize or help revitalize the downtown area, the impact that has on not only your organization and your team and your colleagues, but just kind of the businesses around that kind of are there to support that. Are you seeing kind of the community and maybe the government really appreciate that kind of effort to really jumpstart maybe an area that had been neglected?
Yeah, and it is very much what we look for, right? We're looking for local government, local leadership, other business leaders to really be excited about that potential transformation. And so when we're identifying our next development center, we are meeting with those individuals, those folks at the community college level, the folks at the government level, and you can tell the difference when a city truly wants to is truly open to bringing in outside companies who can help elevate. And so I think we have found great partnerships across all of our locations that are intrigued in our ideas. We're sitting on advisory boards for the universities to help them understand where the curriculum should be headed. We're working closely with local nonprofits and others to start educating kids at a younger age about the STEM and STEAM opportunities that are ahead of them. And so I think it's a great partnership.
Now, as you move forward and enter into kind of this new world with almost everybody, or not almost, maybe in your industry, almost everybody is remote to a certain degree. Is that kind of a net benefit where people can live anywhere now, so they don't have to live in the big city anymore, but then they don't necessarily have to move to one of the 6 places you are or one of the markets you're in? Now they can live anywhere. Are you kind of leaning into this, people can be anywhere, or do you still want people at least some of the time to enter into the office and kind of meet face to face?
Yeah, we're certainly looking at both options. I think we've widened our scope of recruiting, which has been really wonderful. So in Oklahoma, normally we would look about 50 miles, right? A commutable distance. And so now we're able to really go farther afield of an hour and a half, an hour and 45, where we want that individual to be able to come and meet their colleagues and, come in a couple times a month and spend time with their team. But we're okay with the fact that, they have a family farm or they have a family business or something that they would like to be, in a more remote area and doing the great work that we do. So there's definitely options that we're looking at. We're also, we just hired a cloud architect in Atlanta. So we are taking our opportunity to bring on extremely senior experts in the space with 20 and 30 years of subject matter expertise that can add a ton of value to our folks in our development centers. So we are definitely working through a bit of a hybrid.
Now, what do you need more of moving forward? Are you, I'm sure you're always looking for talent. What do you need more of? How can we help you?
We're definitely seeing, a lot of our clients are really looking to revamp and work through the digital engineering process of thinking about their user experience. And so web front ends and definitely experts in that space are hugely important to us as we help our clients move into the next phase of their digital transformation. I think the practice areas like cloud and others are always going to be a mainstay in what we do. But we're also, we want to make that impact in these communities. So I think it's continuing to challenge everyone to think about how we can help in a STEM environment and get more folks into technology is the biggest thing.
Now, any advice for the listeners out there that are going to kind of lean into this remote workforce and maybe create a hybrid, some remote, some kind of in person? What would you recommend they do? What are some kind of do's and don'ts when it comes to creating that kind of a working environment?
Yeah, I think we can't forget the colleague experience. So putting ourselves in the shoes of the colleague every minute of the day, right? Thinking about the fact that yes, while they're able to provide more velocity, I'm actually concerned that if we're producing more, we're spending less time collaborating or less time just socializing, right? And that aspect of being in office is an important part of us as human beings. And so I think, we're taking some steps to create micro communities where our new colleagues are joining experienced colleagues And there's a group of 6 or 8 of them, and they have a small group that meets, that has a Slack channel, that has some intentional programs where they come together and get to know each other, so that we don't lose that sense of community. Because if we're just all working remote, we can, one of my guys says, if they can change jobs without leaving their chair, what are we providing? How are we providing value? And so we're really thinking about that. And I think it's important for everyone to realize that more productivity isn't necessarily a good thing if we're not thinking about the long-term impacts on our colleagues.
And also that connection, it's easy, like that person said, that to forget. Like, does it matter who I'm working with or working for? If I'm just heads down doing this kind of work, you're kind of lose those serendipitous moments, those accidental collisions where you run into people and you connect and you ask about their family and kids and all this stuff that just happens when you're kind of physically working together. So if you don't kind of bring those levels of connection kind of organically into the mix, people can feel isolated and kind of lose sight of the team.
Yeah, exactly.
So now for you, what's been the most rewarding part of this journey? I mean, you've been there for a minute or so you've seen the growth.
I think it's definitely the stories, right? It's colleagues that were working in another location or have become a part of RSI and have been able to really fulfill an aspect of their career that they didn't know was out there, right? Teaching more junior folks in a collaborative way. Our more junior folks are able to come up to speed more quickly on cutting edge client projects. I think for me, that's a big part of it. And as we look forward, I think two of the things that really I'm challenging us to be thinking about is how are we continuing to grow the technology world, bring more kids into the mix so that as they're hitting that middle and high school, they're interested in becoming a computer programmer, right? I think it's also important that we're doing that in underserved communities for more girls to get a more diverse view. One of the things you'll find is that as we build software that we like, right? And so making sure that the actual software developers that are programming come from all kinds of backgrounds and experiences is really important for our clients to create a diverse solution.
Yeah, amen to that. I think that is going to be really an important component moving forward as technology gets more and more kind of just weaved into the kind of life as a whole as it is even now, and it's growing so rapidly. You have to have other people represented because you're not getting a true picture of what the real needs are of the customer if you're ignoring, half the customer.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense. And so you have to make an effort to kind of solve that challenge. But I'm with you 100% in there, and anything we can do to help support that mission, we're behind. So now, if somebody wanted to learn more, whether you're a company that needs some IT outsourcing solutions, or you're an individual that's looking maybe to come back home and find opportunities that maybe you didn't even know existed back in your hometown, what is the website?
www.ruralsourcing.com. And would love to engage in both levels. We certainly have over 100 jobs posted on our website that we're hiring for right now. And so take a look there, and certainly from a client perspective, get on there, take a look at what we do, and reach out.
Well, Ingrid, thank you so much for sharing your story. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, Lee. Very much appreciated.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Learning Insights. And remember, this work could not be done without the support of our good friends at Training Pros. Please support them so we can continue to share these important stories.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Training Pros, visit their website at training-pros.com.